Let's go do some looking around Salem in summer. We can call it a Summerween visit. We'll start here at the Salem Inn, reputedly haunted in 3 of the different buildings that make up this inn, all beautiful from the 1800s. There have been ghost stories that abound from there for years. I don't know how far back they go, but we stayed on a 3rd floor suite and it was exquisite. We're also going to see some of the iconic Hocus Pocus locations. Bang, there's one. And the most iconic house in Salem, I guess you'd have to call it this one, the Witch House. And oh my God, she looks good in a sunset. Now, one of the other places that people love to go is the Charter Street Cemetery or the Old Salem Burying Ground. Next to it is this memorial of stone benches engraved with the names of all of the people put to death accused of witchcraft in 1692 to 93. Some of the worst years for this location. It's really hard to get really good pictures in this cemetery without people in the background because it's only open and controlled for certain times of the day to keep this place so incredibly preserved. These headstones are made with slate and stone that cracks apart very easily in weather, or it stays ridiculously perfect if it is not damaged. And in this cemetery and in this town, I believe the cemetery has been protected long enough that it's such a unique and beautiful place to have so many of these headstones and this early American folk art intact and in view, and that's why it's protected and people have to stay on the paths. This tree is known as the lightning tree. I don't know if guides still give that history of how the person buried beneath it was struck by lightning and then their grave was struck by lightning, but the tree has a story, and I think there's a few other stories of hauntings in this cemetery along that back wall next to one of the buildings where the businesses in the building over time have experienced hauntings as well. But looking at the artwork in this place, honestly, is one of the best portions of being able to be at this cemetery. On Charter Street is a building that butts right up to the headstones. It's always been there, and until this past year, it has looked derelict and abandoned, as you see from the back and the sides, but the front is exquisite. I was told a year ago, I believe, on a tour that it has been purchased for private use, whether it will be a single-family home or apartments, I'm not sure, but it will not be something people can enter. But you have to be sure this building has been on every ghost tour for what I can imagine is more decades than I even know. People say they've seen and heard things from within there, and of course, being next to a cemetery, it's another one of those iconic haunts of Salem. You can pause to read this part, but as we were visiting an Asian candy store, which is always amazing, we noticed this plaque and a beautiful 1800s building across the street and realized the point we were standing on. Another icon, and something so fun to do, is the Salem Witch Museum. You can also end the night as it gets to twilight with fatties. These are giant cookies, and they're amazing. Special flavors for each day. You can eat at the Salem Commons, a beautiful large park, open throughout the day. I'm not sure if it closes at dusk. Part of it stands in the shadow of another haunted building, the Hawthorne Hotel. We've stayed there many times. It is luxurious, although smaller rooms. It was an old shipping building and part of the headquarters for shipping there. The Gardner Pingree House was built in 1804 and in 1830 had a sensationalist murder that occurred there that had to do with a Captain Joseph White and getting his money or his wealth. And of course, the Ropes Mansion has haunted activity with it as well. Both of these places you'll find on the ghost tour, and was in Hocus Pocus 1, Allison's house. I don't actually know if these places were featured in the second movie. You tell me, but thank you for coming to Spooky Salem. Stay weird.